Welcome to the Game Week 20 video. So this week kicks off with West Ham and Liverpool, and an important win for West Ham against Southampton. Antonio getting a goal and an assist, and positive news for West Ham on the injury front, with Payet looking like he might feature in this game. And I think if you look at the table and where West Ham are placed, considering they've had quite a few draws and the recent win against Southampton, this might be just enough for them to really kind of finish quite strongly. I mean, we're halfway through the season, but if they can keep Payet fit, then a I wouldn't discount West Ham from finishing away for cup position. So really good win for them against Southampton. Similarly with Liverpool, a very important win against Sunderland, and Benteke with the goal. I think the game was quite bland, and both teams, to be honest, Liverpool were the better team, but they didn't really have that many clear-cut chances. And an important win for Klopp, because I think a few bad results here and there since his quite impressive start at Liverpool. And there are problems with Liverpool, and Henderson and Sturridge are not available for the game. So, I mean, at the moment, in terms of players I recommend, Payet for this game might not be the most wisest move to do, just because of the fact that he's coming back from an injury, and Antonio I think is valued at 5.2 million, but he's a player to look at. He looks like he's slowly acclimatized into the Premier League. On Liverpool, I would say if there's a defender to look at, it's definitely Sacco, and because it seems like when Liverpool do get bonuses, it's greatly favoured towards him in terms of the BPS system, and Benteke, of course. And I think with Henderson now gone, I mean, definitely for this game, and so the penalty duty might be with Benteke as well. So that's even a greater kind of appeal to get Benteke in your team if you're looking to get a striker this week. In terms of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, Arsenal and Newcastle, an important win for Arsenal, considering the defeat against Southampton, and quite a convincing win against Bournemouth. But I do think there were a few openings here and there. In terms of uh, people who got points, obviously Ozil's been great this season, and Gabriel got some very good points, but Koscielny looks like he'll be back in the team. It was more of a rest, so I don't really think that's a play you should be looking at. And if you actually saw the highlights, Walcott got loads of chances, and he's a player you should be looking at, because for a midfielder, considering the potential he has, especially in his advanced position, he's definitely someone people should be looking at this week, along with Giroud, Ozil, and on Newcastle, on the other hand, a disappointing defeat for them against West Brom. I think they were kind of playing for a draw near the end of that game, and they had a few chances here and there, but to be honest, West Brom were really pressing, and I don't think the news of Elliott was great just before the game, that he had not been feeling well. Darlow came in, did really well, but obviously the goal was kind of a goalkeeping error. But I only see one result. I do think for Arsenal Newcastle, I do think Arsenal are the favourites. And by the way, the West Ham and Liverpool game is too close to call in my opinion. I think a draw is probably what I think in terms of the outcome for that particular fixture. In terms of Leicester and Bournemouth, I think um, Leicester could have easily won against Man City. I think they had the best chance, but I think Man City probably edged it in terms of being the better team overall. But I'm sure that Vardy, give that chance to him in another game, he might be taking it. I think Otamendi was coming quite close to close him down, and maybe the pressure of the game, let's face it. Um, so similarly, I mean, people have taken out Vardy out of the teams last week because maybe they thought Man City at home was a tough fixture, plus, news that he'd not been feeling well. But I think that might be a good thing for quite a lot of people who've kept Vardy, because this might be a good fixture for him to get some points. Obviously, Mahrez is a player should be looking at as well. And the Bournemouth front, well, look, Bournemouth have been very consistent and doing very well up until the Arsenal game. And Joshua King is a player I would actually look at 4.6 million pounds. A striker in this game is registered as a midfielder, and looking back from his hamstring injuries, looks like he's coming back. So he's a player I look at, along with Richie, whose value has dropped down to 5.4. Does have the set piece and generally plays 90 minutes. So he's a very reliable player who's been getting quite good chances the last few weeks. So he's a player I'll look at as well at Bournemouth. So in terms of this result, I think I'd probably give the edge to Leicester, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's ended up a draw. But I would be shocked if Bournemouth did win, because Leicester do have some confidence with them. They've had some tough fixtures, but they picked up some decent points here and there. So you got to give Leicester credit. Man United and Swansea. A lot of people had said this will be Louis van Gaal's game in terms of Man United versus Chelsea last week, but I thought Man United played quite well. I had some very good chances in the game. Look at the Herrera chance. Rooney played decently well. I think maybe just a case of restoring confidence. I mean, Man United had gone quite a long while with Louis van Gaal in terms of scrapping results, in my opinion, and just because they're getting found out, I think it shouldn't be anything new on the surface. It became very apparent that Man United were kind of fluking results, and eventually they run out of luck. But there seems to be a bit more kind of focused now in the sense of how the team needs to play, and kind of maybe key personnel are coming back because Rooney's not back, and the injury list is not so good for Man United as well. So in terms of player recommendations, look, Rooney is definitely a player I recommend. He has looks at the penalty kick as well, and I think he's valued at 9.9. So it's a decent fixture for him in terms of Swansea home. And yeah, Swansea on the other hand, there's actually news that Gomez might be leaving in the transfer window, which has actually opened. And away was, I think he wasn't used in strike in this game just because of the fact that there was a lot of rotation due to fixtures due to two fixtures being there in 3 days during the Christmas and festive period. But I expect Andre Ayew to continue in strike, so he's a player I'll look at. Northern came in and got some really good points as well, but I do think Ryan Joe will probably replace him. So in terms of this game, I actually think Man United have got enough to win this game, so I want to go for a Man United win. For Norwich and Southampton, big win for Norwich against Villa, almost a 6 pointer, and it increases the gap between them and right at the bottom of the table. There's not much to comment. Norwich did quite well defensively, although Villa did have a few chances. And Southampton, on the other hand, couldn't really continue the great win against Arsenal away to West Ham. And it's going to be interesting. I think Southampton obviously don't have Pella for a bit of a while due to his problems. Shane Long being the only striker, he's someone to look at. Valid, I think around about 5.7. Norwich, on the other hand, Umberkani came in. I think it's too risky to consider him in your team just because the rotation of him, Jerome, and maybe even Graben as well. So the way I see it is, there's not a particular player I'll look at Norwich and be like, this is the player you should get in your team. Southampton, on the other hand, Long is worth a shout if you think Southampton offense is, outfit is something that appeals to you. You got Bertrand, at 5.2 or 5.3, and considering how advanced he generally plays, definitely a shout. And yeah, that's all I want to say in terms of the player recommendations, I think, from Southampton. Although there is Ward-Prowse as well, who didn't play actually in the game against West Ham. He played quite a lot of the Arsenal game, and looks like he might come back. So considering he also has a free kick duty as well, he's a player I would also look at for this game. For Sunderland and Villa, disappointing defeat obviously for Sunderland, and to be honest, Liverpool didn't create that many chances, but this is the Premier League. I think Sunderland look a bit lackluster, and in a way it's good the transfer period has come because they look like they're going to be doing business. Villa is a big game for them. I actually think most people said that they had to pick points against Norwich and Sunderland, and the manager's been seeking about 10 wins in 20 games now. I'm pretty sure this is one game they pretty much have to win, because the reason why I say that is because them getting 3 points here means that Sunderland don't get points as well. I think that's important. So big game for Remy Gard. Talk about potential signings in terms of Loic Remy possibly coming at Villa, but I think there are problems at Villa in terms of defensive structure. I think Remy Gard is not able to solve that, and that's something that I've already spoken to as to why he hasn't shown signs in his previous jobs of him being a very great defensive coach. I can see Sunderland maybe scratching this. I think they probably scrap this result. I think unless Villa change something. I mean, the players that I look at Villa who I think are worth a shot is Jordan Ayew, and For Sunderland, on the other hand, I mean, Zaman does tend to rotate his team quite a bit. So I mean, I'm not gonna say a specific player that you should get from Sunderland at this very moment. So yeah, it's a very open game, and I think it's a really big game for Villa. West Brom still have suspensions, and a big win for them. Against Sport. No, sorry, against who was it again? Uh, Newcastle. Yeah. So Beherin looks like he's probably going to start the game as well, and that's obviously might be one of his last games for West Brom. In terms of player recommendations from both outfits, Stoke did really well against Everton, and there's been a debate in regards to the Arnautovic penalty, who has a hamstring problem. Shaqiri is a player, funnily enough, I was speaking about last week, and I said, well, he doesn't look like he'll be getting enough points. I mean, because he hasn't, he took his history. But he turned it around against Everton, and the second goal he scored was, whether that was deliberate or not, it got him points. So, I mean, look, yeah, the trio, Shaqiri, Arnautovic, and Belgian, are players you should be looking at from Stoke as 100%, along with Glenn Johnson, I believe, because I think he has potential of getting points offensively as well. West Brom, on the other hand, I mean, Olsen looks like he's most likely got an injury, and along with the other defenders, I mean, he's the cheapest one there, so he's someone I will look at. But I can see Stoke scoring goals here, and I think this probably might go to a draw. In terms of the 5:30 fixture, Watford and City, Watford will disappoint from the Tottenham loss because they lost the game quite late on, and City, on the other hand, I think they won't be too disappointed from the draw against Leicester. I think it was an opportunity for them, which they kind of missed out, but I think City might be getting stronger with the news that Aguero's back, and obviously a blow for them in terms of Company not being away, because they're, if you look at their record this season with Company and without Company, it's a very evident contrast. So I actually, for one, think Watford can keep Man City to a draw here. I think after the defeat, I think the manager has shown the Watford team throughout the season have shown great defensive skills and um, organisation. But whether they can keep the Man City striking on bay, that's debatable. And it'll be interesting to see who they play in terms of Boney and Aguero. And City do have fixtures coming up with FA Cup, Champions League, Carling Cup, so that's very much of interest. And yeah, there's not much more to say in terms of player recommendations following from before. In terms of the Sunday games, we've got Crystal Palace versus Chelsea, and Palace played at 0-0 against Swansea this week, and they've had a few draws here and there, but they're doing pretty well defensively. And on the other hand, for Chelsea, I mean, it's just weird because you look at the 2-2 result they had against Watford, and then now the 0-0 against Man United. You know, 2 points of 2 games, but they're still very much in that relegation area, in my opinion. So this is a big game. I, for one, actually, I'm going to go for a Crystal Palace win. I can see Chelsea having problems defensively, and Man United were, if it wasn't for Courtois on some occasions, they probably would have scored. So I think, but Costa is back now, looks like, for Chelsea, which is a big boost for them, along with Hazard. So there is a potential that Chelsea might get back to scoring, but this could go either way. But I can see Crystal Palace doing well this game, so I think this could most likely a draw. But I think I'm gonna go maybe for a Crystal Palace win here, because I can see it happening based on the fact that Palace have not scored in the last 2 games. I'm sure there's some sort of kind of background work happening on making sure they can score a goal, against Chelsea. And lastly, the last fixture is Everton with Spurs, which I mean, Romelu Lukaku's been getting a lot of points, along with a few other players. Barclays got an assist, Deulofeu's been involved. So these are players I've all spoken about before. Spurs, on the other hand, I think the player that's come to light is Lamela. Since his hat trick in the UEFA Cup, he's been very much involved in the first team as an attacking midfielder, and he scored a goal against Watford. And I think he's someone to definitely look at. I think he's valued at 6.8 million. He's a player I would look at if you want to bolster your options in terms of midfielders and not quite sure what midfielder to get. He's a player I would definitely look at. Otherwise, I mean, it all remains the same. Everton vs Spurs, it can go either way, and I think rather than me saying where I think the result lies. I think to talk about the importance of the game. If Everton win this game, then I think they can realistically say to themselves, we can challenge top four. Maybe the fourth position I think is still open. But I think if Spurs win here, they really make a statement that winning at Goodison Park is always very impressive. And I think they really look like potential title contenders then, because it can go either way for both teams. So that's my analysis of the Game Week 20 fixtures. And if you haven't joined the Football Fantasy League, do join that. And which the code is in a previous video. And good luck for this game week.